Are we ready?
Yes, yes, you did. Thank you.
Call this meeting of the Library of Tomorrow Council Committee to order. Call the roll, please.
Warren,
Present.
Nyworth, Williams,
Present.
Uyghur,
Present.
Okay, I want to start with the purpose and also a quick statement. To establish a shared understanding of the committee's charge, define the core function of the public library. I think at the end of this, there's no action going to be taken today. There's no vote going to be taken. It's all discussion. And at the end of this, if we haven't touched on and or answered any question that you might have, we'll have a period of time at the end of the meeting where you can ask questions. I think once we get through this, that most of the questions will be answered. We have complied with the Open Meetings Act.
yes, sir.
Thank you. Business item number 1. The charge of the committee, operating principles. Basically, what my first question is going to be that I would like for everybody to answer is, do you agree that defining what the library must do should come before discussing where it's located and or what cost? And I mean, and you don't have to answer, but anybody that would want to answer that is welcome to do that. I mean, we're not going to force anybody to answer.
Councilman Warren, if you don't mind, can we take one step back? We have ex officio members to the committee sitting on the dais, and I think it would be
Oh, okay.
appropriate to introduce them.
Sure. Can we start down here and everybody introduce themselves?
Patty Nyworth, the Library Board President.
Councilman Bob Uyghur, Ward 6.
Councilman Ward 8, Randy Warren, and Chairman.
Councilwoman Shireen L. Williams, Ward 7, also the liaison, Library Board.
Dr. Krista Ratliff, President and CEO of the FIRES Innovation Science Technology Accelerator, Vista Innovation Park.
Kristen Herr, Library Director.
Jerry Askins, Interim City Attorney.
Dwayne Burke, Deputy City Manager.
Okay, that brings us back to that same question. Is there anybody that would like to speak on it? Seeing none, we'll move on to the second one. Personally, I guess I'll answer it. I think it's important. I feel like that in order to know where you want to go as far as what you want the library to be in 2075, which is the same period of time from the time it was built to now, I think it's important to define what you want it to be able to do. And that's kind of where this whole idea started, was we need to find out what we want it to do and then find out what we want it to look like. And so that was kind of the basis for the beginning of this whole deal. That coupled with the fact that there was some needed repairs that needed to be done. But that, yes, ma'am.
Of course, being a library board member for I don't know how many eons of years, we talk about this every month, and we have our strategic plan. I think you all received it. If somebody needs a copy, I've got extras with me today. But we would enjoy any input from the public as to what more we should be doing than what we already are doing. So, thank you.
Seeing no one else, we can go to item number 2. Where are we today? Shared baseline. The current facility has a lot of issues that we're trying to work through. And I think the thought of the council, and I can't speak for all of them, Dr. Uyghur and the young lady next to me can speak for themselves, but my thought was, before we start spending money, we need to figure out what all needs to be done, because there's nothing I hate worse than spending $2 million and then saying, oh, by the way, we needed to do this also, and trying to find that money once you've already started a project or led a contract or whatever. And so that was the nexus of the whole thing. What decisions have and have not been made. We really haven't made any decisions other than we have started the process. We haven't expended the money yet, and that was why we wanted to, or my understanding, why the council wanted to put this committee together was, before we start spending the money, we want to know how much money in the long run we're going to need to spend.
I notice it says here, why a full relocation, and that was never intended. I know Kristen can tell you, Kristen's got the plan that we had together of what would kind of happen if we had to move the building. So I just wanted to let y'all know that wasn't a full relocation.
Well, and that may be the case, but if I remember right, whenever it was presented to council, it was, we're going to have to move the library, and then we're going to have to move it back.
Well, it wasn't the full library.
Okay.
But that's why I said Kristen can explain what our plan was if you'd like her to.
Gotta hit this red button here. So when we started this project, and we're talking to Guernsey, we were planning on doing it in phases, so we didn't have to relocate. But as is typical with projects, the cost goes up, and then there becomes a practical moment where you say, let's get out of the building so that they can get the job done. But one of the things, as we talk about the library of tomorrow, is flexibility and adaptability. And I will say 100% of our children and teen shelving is on wheels. We got grants over the years, and one big grant that really helped us get all of that shelving on wheels. But there's a significant amount of the adult shelving that is still, it's the old shelving, and when we want to move that shelving, we typically have to break that shelving. We take a saw and we're breaking metal because it's not shelving that moves very easy. And so the idea was to shrink wrap it and leave it in place. So we were taking a portion of it, whatever we could take and fit over to the mall, and then leave a lot of it in place. And one of the things about our library that I'm very pleased, and I don't take any credit for this, but there's really nice big walkways between the shelves. So it really becomes accessible for the scaffolding to get up and down those rows. And there was a bit of shelving that we had already torn down that wasn't very accessible to scaffolding in preparation of that. So that was the plan, was to create a temporary bare bones library at the mall, so we still provided services, and then to beef up our branch library in the interim, so that we can do as much as we could while we were getting the renovation done. And I will say, I know you probably don't want a long report on this, but I'm happy to share some things about the good and the bad and the ugly about the current building. I know a lot.
And I'm sure that we'll get to that at some point in this, because I don't want to happen what happened in Norman, where you take down a wall that was going to cost $25,000 to fix, and suddenly you need a new $25 million library. So kind of was part of the nexus of it too, is let's find out what all we need to know before we start spending money. Is there any part of the current situation that you believe needs clear public explanation as we move forward? And personally, I'll answer that for me, and then everybody can take their turn. But I feel like that for whatever reason, this got blown completely out of proportion because there was never, an intent that something had been decided. It has always been, are we going to fix what we've got? Are we going to build a brand new library next door to it? Are we going to, we don't know what we don't know until we know it. But it was never, let's move the library to, the only person that ever said, let's move the library to the mall was Kristen in the plan. I mean, that's where that whole thing started. I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that's when that started. And because then I asked the question, well, if we're going to move it, and why are we going to necessarily spend the money to move it back? Now, had I talked to Vista? No. It was just an idea. It was just a thought as we were discussing it that night. So I think for me, and I'm assuming for the council and everybody else, it's a clean slate. I mean, I just want to examine where we want to be in 2075 and what we need to do to get there. And like I said, whether that's a new building, an old building, at the plaza, part of it at the plaza, whatever, we just need to decide that, but we don't want to decide it $1 million at a time. And that's the problem. I don't want to spend $1 million and then we spent that $1 million, so let's spend another $1 million. And then pretty soon we've got $8 million and we still need more. So I just want to kind of have an idea of where we're headed, and then we can figure out how to get there. Anybody like to speak on that one?
I would just offer that when the study was completed and the project was identified, when we got the actual cost estimate, it came back where there was some additional, I think they were alternate bids. And it might be helpful to have Kristen, maybe for the committee's knowledge, to understand some of the other things that they were looking at doing, to kind of put in perspective what the reason I think we're here and talking about this is we started with a $2 million budget. We got a cost estimate of around $4 million that included all of that project as well as some other needs from the library standpoint. And obviously, you only have what you have. So trying to squeeze that budget down to complete this particular project, we're trying to prioritize that stuff. But I think it would be important, if you don't mind, Kristen, maybe informing this committee the additional items and what the project actually included in that budget.
I'd be happy to. I guess what I would say is, I start out with saying that I love shiny new things, and a new library is always a bucket list wish. But we never did a formal study to decide whether to build a new building, remodel another library, or keep going with this current one. But there were a lot of conversations over the way time as we tried to figure things out and tried to figure out how to move forward. And money it's not unlimited, and so the challenge is how do you go forward. And so there were a lot of conversations, and there was a ceiling study that McMahon funded back in '22 that really got us started. And I know for years I'd been trying to figure out how do you refurbish or remodel a non-standard 5x5 grid ceiling, and how do you get where you need to go? And just today, I got another email from a vendor that wants to come in and do an energy efficiency study. And so many times what they want to do is they want to retrofit those ballasts and make them LED. But the problem is that building has 1,500 light fixtures, and you don't need 1,500 LED light fixtures. And so what are you going to do? Are you going to cover up the other light fixtures? How are you going to go forward? And so lots of conversations over the years, and I could get into it if you wanted to, but somebody had mentioned open ceiling. And so we started really, looking down that. And yes, the project, all those little extras really put the project a pretty high dollar amount. And so you start to look at it and say, yeah, we don't need 5 different kinds of lights, and we don't need the pretty lights. We need the functional lights, and we don't need all these extras. And we got it down to $2 million, because that was our instructions, to keep it at a $2 million cost. But I asked for add alternates because getting costs, cost estimates is half the battle for requesting funding. And whether it was going to come out of this project or grants, I think some of you know that we try to get grant money whenever we can to fund projects. Having that information and also giving council the option, there is something to be said for when you're remodeling, get as much done as you can. But the reality is, when the money's run out, that's what you can do. One of the neat things about this more open, and it's not a completely open ceiling, but it makes it a lot easier to fix things later that need to be fixed. Ideally, we'd like to look at the VAVs while the ceiling's open, and if nothing else, service them, have our HVAC guy do some minor repairs. But there were 3 alternates that we put in there. One was to replace all 15 of the VAVs. So our HVAC system, we got 2 new chillers in 17, we got 2 new boilers in 17, and in the last couple of years, we've got all new motors for all 3 of our air handlers. So when you start check marking off on the HVAC, we got some good stuff done. But now we got 15 VAVs that are 50 years old, and we did a TAB, a tabulate and balance report, and they're not great numbers at all. And we didn't expect them to be great numbers, but we definitely could use some. Those VAVs need to be looked at, if nothing else. One of the questions I still haven't gotten a straight answer on is it cheaper to refurbish them or service them? Yeah, it's like so many things. Is it cheaper just to get new and be done with it, or can you repair it? And I haven't really gotten great straight answers, but if the cost estimates were sweet enough, it would just make sense to go ahead and replace those. The other thing I asked about was putting an air curtain in at the front door. When you go in some of the stores, you have that air that comes out, and it's an energy efficiency, and I like saving money, and that would really be beneficial for the library. And then the third thing was a little bit more cosmetic, but just to finish the project, there's some paneling that I think they estimated it at $10,000 to replace it. So the project, redoing the lights to LED, at one point I had calculated it to be like a $16,000 annual savings. I haven't calculated it lately, so I don't know what it would be at this point, but it's over $10,000 a year that we would save on our electric bill by switching to LED. And just the fact that LED have to be replaced so often, that's the big thing. 1,500 light fixtures, 2 light bulbs in each one of them, $5.50 a pop. That's a lot of light bulbs. And if you walk in the library today, there's a lot of lights out, and that's intentional because we didn't want to spend the money and the time replacing them until we knew, what the plan is. But it's getting dark in the library, and that's because we haven't replaced all the lights.
Go ahead. Ms. Williams, I'm sorry.
Kirsten, you mentioned about air curtain. Does that help to keep the library smelling fresh?
I would think it could. That would be a good thing. I will tell you that we currently do not have our exhaust fans in the restrooms working. It is going to cost $1,500 to replace the motor, but I do have an appointment with a vendor next week. I want to look at an alternative because I'm not sure that the exhaust fans that were put in 2020 are the best solution for our library. So the restrooms are a little ripe right now because our exhaust fans aren't working.
How long have they been out?
3 weeks. I know our building maintenance went up on the roof to go check the actual motor and everything, so I would say about 3 weeks.
So clarifying question, Kristen, is all the work you just listed inclusive within that $2 million budget, or was there a new budget that was set? Going back to Dwayne's, Deputy City Manager Burke's original question, what were the estimates and what were those costs?
So the plan was the Guernsey project, designed, ready to go out for bid. The cost estimate was $2 million to put in new LEDs with a hybrid open ceiling concept, put in a fire suppression system, and then the ductwork from the VAV to the diffuser would be replaced. The ductwork from the HVAC room to the VAVs would stay in place. So those are the expenses of that project, with 3 out alternates.
What about the electrical panels?
Can't hear you.
The electrical panels were not in the scope of this project, but I have been working to get quotes. And I think that goes back to Councilman Warren's question about, okay, what's next? And I do have a list that we can talk about, but that was not in the scope to replace the electrical panels. I will tell you one of the things, and Dr. Ratliff, I don't know exactly what you've done to have success with electricity, but we do have brownouts and power surges, and it's been a little bit of a headache for us. And I know City Hall gets hit with that sometimes too. One of the things I did a couple years ago is I got the electrician to put surge protectors on our electrical panels for our lights. And I'm telling you, the amount of lights that have gone out has greatly reduced, because every time we had lightning storms, we had banks of lights go out, and that's quite the headache. So we got surge protectors put on our electrical panels for the lights. Been in contact with our HVAC guy here with the city, and I've, for about 4 months now, been asking what the cost estimates are going to be to put surge protectors on our chillers, our boilers, and our air handlers, because that will be a tremendous savings and reduce the headache, because our chillers get reset quite often because of electrical brownouts and surges and that sort of thing. The electrical panels are definitely old. I have asked at least 3 electricians to give me quotes, and part of it is right now with electrical work, it is just such a hot mess. We do have an electrical panel running our chillers and boilers that is 1960s technology. It's frankly a little scary out there. It's a 480, I don't remember what the unit is, but it's the big stuff. It's the stuff that will definitely kill you. I know when we put the chillers in 17, one of the things was pried open, and we brought an electrician down from Oklahoma City, and we killed the power at the transformer just to put in the chillers. I mean, it's no joke. That panel, it's a little scary. I haven't gotten anybody that's been willing to give me a quote on that. I might need to find a special electrician to do that. But I know that would be a good thing to install at the library, along with surge protectors, because it's really obnoxious when the chillers go down in the summertime and have to be reset. questions? Was that good enough?
And I don't know, at some point, that's what I would like to see is some kind of list with maybe a 5-year look ahead. I don't know what if we determine that we're going to stay in this building for the long term, for the next, till 2075, what are we going to need to spend in the next 5 to 7 years? And if we could put that together, and I know that we're not going to be able to find everything, but we kind of have a general idea of how the sewage system and the water system, and we haven't ever addressed the thermal ability of the actual walls and glass that were built, when I was in high school, which was a really long time ago. But, I mean, and that's part of what we'll need at some point is, because we can't just, guess. We kind of have to have an idea, because that's kind of the point of the process, is to kind of get an idea of how much we're going to have to spend. And do we want to just keep Band-Aiding until a CIP and then do something? Or do we want to Band-Aid, or what do we want to do? So I think it's important that we do get a list of some kind eventually. Any other questions or comments on that?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a question to Ms. Kristen. Is, along with getting an estimate of the actual overall cost of everything that is required to bring the building improvements that are needed, not the bells and whistles that we would like to see, but what is truly needed. I would ask a question of what category of our citizens, help me to understand our library currently as it is, what group of citizen is using our library on a consistent basis? Do we find that's the children? Is it families? Is it homeschoolers? Is it seniors? Is it job seekers? I'm not talking about walk-ins. I'm talking about the majority. If we sat down and looked at and categorized every person that walked from that door from early morning to late evening, who would be your largest people group?
Our library does bring such a diverse group of people throughout the day. We do have quite a bit of homeschoolers that use the library during the day. We see our kids after school coming to our events and coming to the library for all kinds of use. We do have adults throughout the day. It is a really nice, diverse mix of things, and that's one of the joys of librarianship. You get to help all kinds of people answer all kinds of questions throughout the days. We go from a job seeker question to a legal form, and have a process to file some legal paperwork, to a book recommendation. We have people that meet in the public space for supervised visits or to meet with a caseworker or that sort of thing. We have people studying for tests. We have people that are wanting to 3D print. They want to find an obit or find their neighbor that they lived across the street 25 years ago. It is varied and wild. On a daily basis, we get such a diverse mix, and that is one of the things we try to do. We try to provide different activities for all kinds of different interests, because we are open and inclusive to all, and so there are things that we have people that are making Christmas gifts on the Glowforge and the sublimation printer, and we've got kids that are learning their ABCs. We have a very active story time group on Tuesday mornings, and we have a pretty good group of genealogists meeting on a regular basis now, and we have our book club, and so it's a pretty diverse group. And one of the things that we've done. I'm sure if you've seen the newsletter, you've seen all the different kinds of programming. We're responding to requests from the community, requests from other organizations, and we're just trying to facilitate a variety of needs. And sometimes those things are easy to do. Sometimes they're not right now, or that's a heavy ask. We've been looking for somebody that would teach a cryocurrency class, and we haven't quite found the right person to that. I'm not teaching that class. And we were having a conversation today about soft skills, and it led to another conversation about another interview type class that we'd be offering, and was this a class for adults and for teens? And so we do run the gamut, and we always are vetting our resources, our staff, and how we can collaborate with other groups to make it happen, because we're not doing this all on our own.
Can I add just one program that you all may not realize? Also, of course, Friends of the Library are here, and we support the literacy project. We teach literacy and citizenship, and the Friends are financing a big part of that, and the grants. They get lots and lots and lots of grants, but that population has really grown too.
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the different diverse personnel that comes through there. Do y'all have a way of tracking the capacity, probably on like a daily basis, or how many people actually come and use the library?
We track on a monthly basis, and we do have a door counter to track our attendance.
Can you get that to me at a later date? Or do you have it now?
I do have it. Give me just a second.
Councilman Warren, for record-keeping purposes, have we moved on to item number 3?
We are on 3.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll have to keep looking for it. That is a reported statistic on the annual report every year. And so we do track that. So I can get that to you. It's around 200,000 a year.
Thank you. I got another question. And Deputy City Manager may have to answer this, I'm not for sure. As far as CIPs, was this part of the library project coming from that's one of the CIPs for the Prepare 2040?
Yes, it was.
The amount?
$2 million.
Thank you.
Could you go get us the next, or just send them to us? I mean, that's fine. I think everybody would be happy with that. Traffic numbers, and is it divided into any socioeconomic group or age group or anything like that, or is it just simply how many people walked in the door?
So we keep a track of the door count, and that's a laser and feet walk through. So that's not going to track socioeconomic, but we do track each of our classes. So for each of our events that we have the data for each class throughout the year. So we know if a kid is or if it's a kid's program, we know how many people showed up for that. We don't keep track of socioeconomic for our events.
Do we, well, I know we know about borrowed books, borrowed data, electronic. Are we able to count with I'm able to download a book? Do you know that I was able to do that? Do you track that?
So we do track a lot of things, and so at a glance, we'll have all those statistics or a lot of those statistics. We believe in privacy, and there are some state
Well,
rules and
I just mean
expectations.
numbers.
So we don't really track, as far as, I know we've looked at one time about doing a heat map of where our library cards come from, and I think we've run some of those numbers previously. But we don't, when you get a library card, we don't ask a lot of personal information on that. We're just trying to get your contact information in case you don't return the book. But we don't track any of those kind of things.
But you do know how many books have been borrowed,
Oh, absolutely.
and you know how much electronic
Oh, yeah, we have.
borrowing goes on.
That is one of our big indicators of what's going on at the library.
Just the numbers is all. I don't
Yeah.
care about
Oh, yeah,
who did it.
we know where our circulation's going. So,
If you feel like it would be helpful, Kristen, the Chamber of Commerce can geofence the library and provide demographic information for the people that are visiting. Any associated information that you need, education levels, income levels, they can provide all of that.
Staying on number 3, is there anyone else that would like to speak on or ask questions about what services do you find, or do you believe that maybe everybody thinks that we should be able to provide all of these? Is that the case? I mean, is that kind of where everybody's at? Okay.
I would just say, we always appreciate feedback as far as something that we're not providing, or, where the trends are. But I would say one of the cornerstones of the modern library is we help people in all kinds of ways. And so it is kind of funny when we give tours of the library. And by the way, we do that pretty regularly. And if anybody wants a tour, we're happy to do that. We've got a lot of things that you wouldn't expect the library to have, but it's thanks to grants, it's thanks to donations, it's things that we we have services that we do just because it fits into the library, but there are plenty of things that we no longer do. And it ebbs and flows. We had a conversation with Workforce this week, and they were asking us about GED testing at the library, and that was a hard no. But we have had so many good conversations with Great Plains and Lawton Public Schools, and we know, and Comanche Nation Education Center, so we know that really there's not a need for us to do GED testing. There's not a demand for that. But what there is a need to promote that voucher program more. And so that led us down to a rabbit trail of, how can we promote this voucher program in our library, but in libraries across the state. So we're following, I wanted to tell you, the American Library Association, the Public Library Association, the Oklahoma Library Association, the Oklahoma Department of Libraries are having conversations with all kinds of different groups, and when they get these big grants, and we say, you know what, that's bringing money into our community, we jump on it because that just allows us to do all these kinds of things. And we don't always get the money for the thing that we really, really want to do, but man, if we can get the money to benefit our community, let's do that. And just finished up a report for Thinking Money for Kids program that we did. That was thanks to AT&T and the Public Library Association. They gave us wonderful board games to teach kids about money. I mean, all kinds of ways of teaching kids about money. And, AT&T, that was with FINRA, and then AT&T gave us money to do computer classes, and that grant's already done, but we had all of the teaching material, and so we had a couple of people go out to Center for Creative Living this week using that material that AT&T had given us a year ago through another grant. So there's a lot of things with the services. We have those conversations and trying to figure out where the needs are and how we can partner with other groups to get it done, because there are limits, but if we can synergize, we're all about that.
Anyone else on this topic? that kind of takes us into number 4, which is talking about duplication of services. It's part of our job as council people to make sure that we're not duplicating services. And is there anybody that would like to speak to any of the points on number 4 as far as which library functions do you feel like might overlap with others? I think you've kind of talked about that a little bit already. You know, are there some things that you feel like would be not, and I'm not just you, I don't want you to feel like this is an inquisition, because it's not. I'm trying to get everybody to kind of give us an idea. Duplication of services can save us the most money. I mean, if we can stop or back off on that. I don't want to duplicate services simply because somebody's going to pay us money to do that, if that makes sense. But that's what this question basically encompasses. Do you think that there's any services that we could do without, that we could let somebody else take care of, that is maybe capable of doing it better, so that you have the ability to not focus on that and be able to focus on something else that you feel like is more in your lane? I guess that's kind of a microcosm of that question.
Restrooms for LATS bus drivers. Honestly, when I read that question, that was the first thing. You know, we have been providing restroom facilities and bus tickets. We were doing about 3 bus tickets sales a day. Some of them are like 31-day passes and week-long 10-day pass or 10 punch passes. But we at the library will be very excited when LATS gets its transfer station, and that will really that will be so tremendous, because there's a lot of flushing toilets. We're happy. People need potties, and we're happy to provide it, but when they have their own restrooms, that'll be wonderful. And we would like to not sell bus passes, but we really feel like there's such a need. I mean, when you're selling about 3 a day, there's a need for it at this time, because not everybody has a smartphone or has the right software to have the app to make it work. So we're doing a lot of LATS things.
One thing on the duplication, I know Krista and Kristen can explain, like with the Lego and the STEM that we're doing, they're working together, that program, so that it's not just at the library and not just at Vista.
Thank you, Patty. So the Vista STEM Lab enjoys a great relationship with the library and a great partnership, and it's been very successful in meeting the needs of our community from a STEM perspective, whether that's VEX, robotics, 3D printing. But yeah, we do enjoy a great relationship.
Is there anybody else on this? Dr. Wigger, anything from you? Okay. I think that's my thought process on that item was, I think we need to drill down as much as we can, because I think that's a good place to save money if we find the ability to do that, where we can team up with Vista or team up with Great Plains or team up with somebody and not have to spend those funds when we could redirect them someplace else. So that's something I think we need to look at.
And I will say, Councilman Warren, that there have been circumstances or instances where we're providing resources in the Vista, and the library team comes over to the Vista and assists in that, and vice versa, that the Vista team goes to the library and provides resources to them as well.
And I will say that, you know, most of these extra services really aren't coming from city funds. So we have limited staff. One of our strategic plan to collaborate and to partner, we can't do it, nor, we have 17 FTE at our library. We're using our staff to cover the desk and answer reference questions. And we've done a lot to streamline. We have some self-checkout. People can do things automated. You can sign up for a library card without talking to a library person. And we'll even mail it to you. You don't even have to come into the building. So there's things that we've done to be more efficient. And by being more efficient, that gives us the ability to facilitate services. But we regularly turn down things that are going to take us a lot of time. But our library team, our library building has really been a vessel to help other groups lead those classes, because there's a lot of things that we're doing that we're not leading them, we're just facilitating it. We have the vehicle, we have the newsletter, we have standard marketing and how we do things, and a routine to showcase, to get the word out. And Lawton Rocks came to us, and we regularly have requests for painting classes, but we don't have the staff time to do that. But you know what? You want to do this, you want to teach this, and we have the meeting room. Let's see if this works. Oh, wow, this really worked. Let's do this again. Let's do it monthly. And so we're happy to collaborate with Lawton Rocks, but we're not doing the class. Lawton Rocks is coming in and having that program. And our Friends of the Library have funded our individuals to help. We have an individual that comes in and does one-on-one classes, computer classes with people, because so many people have technology questions, and it's really exhaustive to sit there with a customer and walk them through setting up an email or a resume, or some of those basic things that people are struggling with technology-wise. But the Friends pay a person to come in and sit and walk them through that. So there's things that are happening because we've already gone through that process and said, we can't do it. How are we going to get it done? And having a person come in and do those computer classes has allowed us to really help our community and not bog down our staff. So we're constantly looking for those ways, because you're right, money's tight, and we've got to be strategic about it. And there's a lot of things we did. We put those RFID tags in all the books, and so that really streamlined how we check in and check out books. We combined our desks, because we were just trying to figure out, when one person calls in sick, it really throws a wrench in our library operations. And so, we're lean and mean and the way we do these events. And I know the newsletter's pretty full of things, but it's because we're partnering.
Anybody else? We can move on to 5, and I'm going to try to. There's an elephant in the room. No, but there's really not. But when looking at this whole thing, one of the things that really stood out to me is, and I am grateful for it, but currently the county invests $50,000 a year into the library. If you do the math and you look at populations, in order to equal the amount that Lawton citizens are investing in the library, I think we had 33,000. I think there's 33,000 county residents that aren't Lawton residents. And if they were to all have a card, they would need to pay, I believe it was $136 a year for each one of those cards in order to equal what the citizens of Lawton are investing for the same availability. And there's a problem there. How we solve it, I don't know. But there's, yeah, we ask for more all the time. I believe, I remember when it was 25,000 and John Purcell and I went and got a little bit more. But that's one of the ways we've got to, I mean, that's, and I hate to put it that way, but that's money left on the table. I mean, it is not fair to the Lawton resident that's picking up that bill. Do they get good value? Yes, but it's still not fair for them to subsidize.
Yeah. Kristen, you want to explain, we are a county library as well, and you want to explain what we get from the state and everything on that?
I totally get where you're coming from, Councilman Warren, and I think I can rattle off a few things that might explain all of that. So in Oklahoma, every municipal library is charged with serving the entire county to receive state aid and to receive additional services from the Oklahoma Department of Libraries. So Elgin Public Library and Cache Public Library also serve the entire county. Now, if you live in Lawton, you're probably not going to go to Cache Public Library because we have more things, but Cache is charged with serving the entire county. The Oklahoma Department of Libraries calculates our official population. There's actually a formula they use, and it's 90,200 some, I think, for this year, that they calculated as our official numbers, but we actually serve 150,000 people. So we do go to the county every year and we ask for money, and they give that to us and we use it for our books and electronic materials. Elgin and Cache also receive money from the county to help their libraries. But when you look at the cost for the county versus the city, you would take that 50,000 from the county, but you'd also take that 34,000 from the state, because if we stop serving the county, that would go away, along with several other grants that we would not be eligible for. But you're looking at, it's a different calculation at that point, because we get that money from the state to help offset that expense. And so every municipal library in Oklahoma is supposed to serve their entire county. We, for free of charge.
And again, you'll have to educate me, which is what this is all about. Don't most municipal libraries in the state belong to like library associations? Can you explain that?
Systems. So in Oklahoma, we have two forms of libraries. We have library systems and we have municipal libraries. There are 8 library systems, Pioneer out of Norman, Metropolitan out of Oklahoma City, Tulsa City County, Altus is a system, McAllister has a system, Muskogee has a system. So there's 8 of these systems, and we are the largest by population municipal library in the state. We are only one of 2 libraries that have 2 locations. Duncan has 2 locations. So by population, we're the biggest municipal library, and we get our funding through the city. Systems get the bulk of their money through ad valorem, a county sales tax. They also do get money through their cities. That's a whole nother story, but they get a lot of, it's mostly ad valorem.
Just a different funding model.
It is a different funding model, absolutely.
Do you know if that's something that we've ever looked at to see advantages, disadvantages?
The idea has been broached. I, of course, would love to see library systems. They tend to be a little bit more stable with our funding, and I think they're stronger libraries ultimately. I would love to see a library system for Southwest Oklahoma because you're leveraging a number of libraries. But there has never been, as far as I know, an official committee to explore that, and it's just something to have. You need a committee that would go through that process.
Anybody else on this item? I mean, it's kind of it's not wide open, but there's a lot involved in it.
Councilman Warren, if I may?
Yes.
I just want to clarify, we talked about funding streams for the library. I want to clarify that the FISTA STEM Lab receives 0 tax dollars from the city of Lawton. It's all grant funded up to this date.
And the FISTA's done a really good job with grants. And the library has too. And we need to, I wish we could afford to have a grant writer that sat in an office all day long and wrote grants.
Yes.
And maybe we can someday afford that. But it would definitely benefit us if we could. I mean, we can move on. There's a lot on here, and I hope everybody looked at it prior to the meeting because I didn't want us to talk on every single one of these items, but it's all stuff that I think we need to encompass in the discussion of what we think we want and need. I just don't want us to make a rash decision because, you know, as I mentioned the other night, this is my last year, and I don't want in 2 years people to look back and say that we should have looked at this closer before we spent money. If there's an opportunity to spend, I mean, now Dwayne's going to have a fit, but I'm not against spending a lot of money. If that's the citizens' plan, and that's the citizens what they want to do, and the citizens fund it in the future, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with not having a plan of what we would do if that occurred. So that's my idea in 2075. What do we want the library to look like? So that we have a general plan, so that then we can decide, is it going to be where it's at? Is it going to be someplace else? Is it going to be where it's at but 2-story, which it was supposed to be at one time? You know, there's just so many things at play, but if we spend $7 million or $5 million, we're kind of hooked then. It narrows down our choices on what we can do. We just have to continually spend a little bit of money when we've got it. We need a plan, a long-term plan. And that's kind of where this whole thing went. It did go a little bit sideways. And it's unfortunate that it did because I know a lot of people felt like, I don't know, we were going to tear the library down or we were going to, I don't know. But I just wanted, and I think the council just wanted to make sure that we're on the right path before we start spending money. So with that, before we decide on meeting times, I guess we can finish this item by, is there any other comments or requests for information or anything before we set a meeting?
I don't want to interrupt, but Councilman, if you could give me 5 minutes, I could rattle some things off, and then you could give me some feedback so I would be more prepared for next meeting as far as what you want to know more information on, because I have a few things that I can share today that might help.
Yeah, that's fine, go ahead.
But do we have other
Wait.
questions first?
But before you start, and I appreciate that, I can't help but feel like You know, to me, the mission of this committee is to determine not just reevaluating or evaluating the mission of what you want the library to look at, but what the footprint for it is from a facility standpoint. And those don't, I mean, I've been to the library. I think it's fantastic. Everything they're doing is great. I don't know if that facility is the long-term solution or not, but I think, you know, we're tracking down two different pathways here. I feel like we're talking about what the mission is and what it is we want to see in the future from a library standpoint, but then we're also looking at the financial impact to the community and what that footprint is as with respect to the actual facility itself. Current library is 35,000 square feet, roughly? 30 what? 37,000 square feet. Do we need 37,000 square feet to complete the mission that you and the library board and the Friends of the Library have put together, or not? And if we don't, where do we go from there? And I think that honestly is, when you talked about the elephant in the room, to me, that's the elephant in the room, is how do we marry those two together so that we're doing what we need to do from an efficiency standpoint. We obviously don't need 100,000 square feet to do it, but how many square feet do we need? And if we establish that it's half of that, is there a better facility for that? If we establish that you need all of that, now we need to look at the financial impact of, are we going to renovate that building? Is it worth renovating that building or moving it to another building of similar size that's maybe in better shape? I don't know. I just kind of feel like we're talking two different conversations, and I'd like to see us pull that back together.
And I was just going to mention off of that is the way this whole thing in my mind got started was I read an article, and it was way prior to this. I read an article where they were talking about in-person foot traffic was down 28% across the nation, and electronic was up, and that all the libraries were adjusting to that. And that's kind of where I got started was, well, if that's the case, then maybe we can have a smaller footprint. And again, like you said, move it, keep it, whatever we do. But let's say that we do decide that we want to keep it where it's at, but it's too big. Well, then we work on a plan where we can rework the walls and insulate them properly and do some things like that save money on the long end. And that's kind of where it got started with me, was I saw the metrics where the foot traffic was way down. Libraries all over the nation are moving their hard books into stacks that they pay companies to hold for them, or they just sell them to those companies in exchange for electronic versions of the ones that are available. I mean, there's just a litany of ways that they're doing it. But you're right. That's where it started for me, was we need the facility. We don't want to spend money on a facility until we decide how big it needs to be. And can it stay where it's at? Can it move? And what does it have to do? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly what I'm getting at, is we need to make a determination from a fiscal standpoint on whether we want to continue to spend the money renovating, updating, getting that building to where it needs to be functional, or do we reevaluate what the footprint looks like and look at either another facility or constructing a new facility? It may be more cost effective to build a nicer facility that's a little smaller, if that's what we need, versus investing a lot of money into that building and it having too large of an area, or, I don't know, maybe it's not big enough, I don't know. But
But yeah, I think that's the
It's
question.
never big enough.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why I was asking about the foot traffic earlier. And need accurate numbers.
So we are aware that ebooks continue to increase, and we are monitoring our physical circulation. And yeah, we're more and more people are going to electronic materials. We've been having serious conversations because one of our vendors where you could check out books electronically, we get charged every time somebody checks out a book. And if we don't put in mechanisms to reduce that, we'll blow our budget. And we're already experiencing that this year. You know, how do we give people what they want, but we don't have unlimited funds with electronic materials. But our physical materials are still going pretty strong, and we continue to monitor that. And we have that data, and we just ran our 6-month statistics for this year, and it's up from last year. And so, you know, the pandemic has done some interesting things with those numbers, but we're continuing to be pretty strong with that, and our foot traffic is not it's not following the national trends quite the same because, well, number one, your library is doing some amazing things and really keeping up with things. We're not a warehouse of books. We're a place for people to come in, and there's times that you come in there and there are just people in every nook and cranny, and I don't think there's an empty chair in the building. And there's times that there's not a lot of people, but it's a well-used place. One of the numbers that you said in November, Councilman Warren, was that about 40% of libraries are stacks. And so we went and we calculated because we were curious where we were at. I know that we've been consolidating our stacks and reducing that footprint to expand for other things. And we're at about 26% right now of stacks because we're not just warehousing the books. I will tell you, one of the reasons that the Lego League is at FISTA this spring is we don't have space for them at the library. You know, as we move things around and we create, you know, if we didn't reduce our stack footprint, we wouldn't have had the maker space area. We wouldn't have had the digital memory center. And so, you know, we have to move things around to add some of these new services. And we had this space and it was empty, and it felt weird because it was just so empty. And we're like, what do we do with this space? And, you know, how do we fill it? And I said, can we just leave it empty for a little bit? Because I'm just not sure yet. And then we got virtual reality, and you know, you need a little bit of a footprint for virtual reality so that you don't run into tables and chairs. And that was a great space. And then we started using it for all the volunteer tax preparers. And then we started using it for Lego League. And well, this spring, taxes are going to be there again. And so those Lego people, we need another spot for them. And so we continue to carve out those spaces, but those open areas let us do other things. One of the things that we need more of are study carousels and study pods. A lot of people come to the library. Some people just want to be in a public space but want to be able to kind of focus. And so those can be a little bit more open air, but have half wall type things on them. But we have one, we call it a telehealth booth because we got it with health literacy money, but that ADA accessible unit, you go in there and the door closes and it's mostly soundproof and you can do telehealth in it. But because we have that telehealth booth, we've also now been doing IRS appointments because there's no place in town that you can sit down with an IRS agent. So we have that privacy now. We'd like a couple more of those, and I'm just working with somebody within the last month that potentially will get a couple more of those. But those are pretty big footprints. We'd like to build some study rooms when the funding comes and to expand that space for people to have more places to meet, either study or you know, a small group type thing. Because We don't have small collaborative spaces. We just have tables that people meet around. So it's an interesting building. We do have a large chunk of the building dedicated to family and local history. And that's not like a lot of other libraries. You know, we have a pretty large collection, and at some point over the next 20 years, that collection will continue to get smaller, but it's still going strong right now. And as that collection gets smaller, we expect the tables to be added, because that is one of our needs right now is more tables in the building. I would also talk to you about some energy efficiency in that building, a couple of good stories about that, if I could segue into that. All right. So we get grants, and we always try to figure out how to use that money efficiently, effectively. And one of the challenges is that brick floor in the lobby. You come in, and it's a tripping hazard, and it's loud. And several years ago, I had been asking for solutions to fix that, and quotes were $78,000, $80,000. And we got grant money this year, and there's a local vendor that was able to sandblast that brick down and pour the floor in less than $20,000. And at the same time, we had gotten new glass walls for the adult literacy in the back of the library last year. And that led to conversations. I knew that we needed to do something with our perimeter walls. And, but it didn't click until last year that those are single pane windows. I knew that we needed to do something so that they're so big. And when they break, it's a lot of money to replace these 10-foot window panes. And, you know, they do break. And a great many of them are not safety glass. So that's not a good thing. We have a glass building with non-safety glass. With that grant money, we were able to put in double pane windows, safety glass in the meeting rooms, energy efficient. And really pleased with how that's going. And so that was the hope, is to get that done, and then try to find more grant money to continue with the exterior walls. Because I know one of the comments you had said back in November was about energy efficiency, and you're absolutely right. A building that's 50+ years old is not as energy efficient. And so, you know, the lights, the LED lights were a big one for us, but we were working on some different things too, and the replacing that glass would be another huge step in the right direction. Did I answer enough questions about where we are with space-wise? I feel like I glanced over that.
More than anything, I think what we've talked about illustrates that, and it's something that it's been at the school board and on council for a lot of years, forever. It's money and need and how to match those two together. And I think what the assistant city manager said is spot on. I think we have to determine whether it's all done in this committee or, you know, a different committee, or however it's decided. We've got to look at the long-term use of that building, and how do we do it as efficiently as we possibly can for the least amount of money and still be able to serve the citizens in the capacity of what the library needs to serve. That being said, if anybody else has got last final comments today, number 6, when we get to it, I don't know that we're going to be able to decide on a meeting date today. I think maybe Donna Lynn might be able to set that up a lot easier for us. 'She seems to be able to do a great job of that. But if anybody's got any last comments that they want to make, we can do that, and then I'd open it up to any comments from the audience.
On the location of the building, I want us to remember that we use those green spaces around our building. And being close to the Shepler and the farmer's market is really good for us because we have a lot of projects and things that bleed off into that area. So, you know, keep that in mind about location.
Dr. Wiegand?
Yes, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think the matter of stewardship, looking at the financial investment the community has made in our library, I think we need to, again, look further with the building, hearing of the renovations that are needed, and yet more is yet to come. I'm not one that is a Band-Aid type person. I don't like putting Band-Aids on things. I like getting to the root of the cause, fixing the cause, rather than treating the symptoms. And so I appreciate what I've heard today and look forward to learning some more.
Would you like a presentation about the projects or where the building's at from a maintenance standpoint at the next meeting?
I think that would be helpful for everybody if you could email that along with the usage numbers and things of that nature. Of course, we have to, you know, we only know what we know. We
Sure.
don't know what we don't yet.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Uh-huh.
Sewer, plumbing, oh my goodness. When sewer backs up, that is not fun, right? We got new restrooms in 2020, and it seems like we've had more sewer backup. You know, like what the heck, what's going on here? I reached out to Rusty Weisenhaus group, his department, and said, "But you know, can you help me? Can we figure this out?" And they got me in touch with a plumber who cambered the line, and I had forgotten that there was a trough in the line. But those toilets, you can change when we put the toilets in 2020. You can control how hard it flushes. And let me just tell you, I used a toilet here at City Hall today that, you know, my derriere got wet. I'm like, somebody needs to adjust that toilet. That's flushing way too hard. I did not appreciate that today. But you can actually, I know that's TMI, but let me just tell you, you can control how long it flushes. And they put in, they're called diaphragms. They put in new diaphragms this fall, and I don't know, knock on wood, we have not had a sewer backup since. Sometimes it's really having the right conversation. I am not the smartest person in the room when it comes to all of this stuff, and I'm constantly trying to get people to tell me more about that building and just, you know, construction in general, because, you know, it's that conversation that leads to something better. There are definitely issues that you've heard complaints about at the library, at that building, and at any building. You know, there's just things that you know, we get frustrated with. But as we talk about it and somebody comes up with a better solution, and sometimes it's a really significant savings solution. So I would love to tell you about the problems with this current building, because there may be just some things that I'm missing, because we're in this together to figure out how to fix this stuff. I will tell you, you know, I provide the information that you want, and you know, of course, you know, to follow wherever this leads. But I tell people all the time, I came to Oklahoma in 2012, and I looked around at this library and I said, who builds a glass building with no walls in Oklahoma? I tell that story all the time, you know, like what were they thinking building a glass building with no walls? But the library of the future is flexible and adaptable. And so my bucket list, number one thing about a library is flexibility. That's why we have so many things on wheels, because we don't know what the technology is going to be like in the next 10 years. We want to have that ability to do that, whether it's at this current location or not. But I was happy to share at the next meeting, you know, where we're at and some of the solutions, because I think that, you know, plumbing is not quite the problem that it used to be a year ago, because that got really old really fast.
Well, thank you. I'll give a paraphrase, quick closing statement is just that this purpose of this group isn't to decide whether we're going to build a smaller or a larger or remodel or what. We're going to determine what we need, and then somebody else is going to figure out how to do that. The other thing is, I would really like for some committee other than this one to look at the association, the library, what was it called? The multi-county. Yeah, the library system.
Library systems.
I'd like for, maybe we can put together a committee someday to do that. I think it's important to know. That said, is there anyone in the audience that'd like to ask a question or speak to the committee?
Can you hear me okay? There's a button on the front of that microphone. My name's Jim Marone. I live on 416.
There's a button on there, Jim.
We need his name and address.
I will say, we can hear you in this room, but the meeting is also live streaming and they can't hear on the live stream.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, just need your
good.
name and address.
My name's Jim Marone. I live at Lawton, 416 Northwest Bell, Lawton. I had a couple of thoughts. One is, I've heard from a lot of people lately. I posted a couple of things online. I've heard from a lot of people. They love their library. They love their library right where it's at, and they love it doing the things that it's doing. That's one. I heard from several people, quite a few people, that said that they would be here if it was held during a time. I realize y'all have evening lives just like everybody else, but they would be at these meetings if it was held at a time that they could make it to. And one other point is that if you walk through the library, you can see what kind of condition it's in. It's a beautiful facility, and they need every square foot that they have. On a busy day, you go through there, and the whole place is busy, especially at summer reading club, and then during summer reading programs and things like that. Everything gets used, everybody does stuff. I mean, what are you going to take out? Family history, the children's books, the large print, computer lab. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Name and just your
Kenra
name and
Ford,
address.
8 Northwest Legacy.
Thank you.
And thank you. Just a quick comment, and you may have alluded to this earlier, but I always like points of clarity, as the library is a critical function service for our community, and I use the words community very broadly. Separating the needs that are critical to the doors opening to the library, or safety to the employees or to those that use the library, separating that from the nice to have as you talk about the future roadmap would be really good, so that timelines can be applied, so that scope creep and time doesn't pass by without addressing something it needs to be fixed in the next 6 months. So I would, if it's not already been thought about or included, I would add definitions of we must fix it now, so that dates can be applied, and prioritization as you think forward on the roadmap. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a few questions while y'all were talking. My name's Annette Wiseman. I live at 112 Northeast Fullerton Street. Out of curiosity, what is the annual budget for the library from the city?
$1.4 million.
1.4 million. Thank
That's
you.
close.
You know what I meant to start with? Let me back up. Kristen, I would like to commend the Lawton Public Library. I've been a long time, I agree. I've been a very long time resident of Lawton. I'm old, so I can say that. And I have seen you speak to several groups that I've been a part of. And you have simply done an amazing job with the library. I consider you guys to be one of the best resources we have in our community. So kudos to you, your staff, your team.
A great team,
Yes,
a great team.
and everybody who helps you with that, because it is simply amazing. I follow you, I share your letters, your weekly calendars with many clients, many family members. I send it to my kiddos, look at this, go do this, you know? So, huge kudos. Thank you for everything you have been doing. I just wanted to, I should have started with that, and I'm sorry I didn't. I was looking at my questions. My next question is, do you have to be a Lawton or Comanche County resident to use the library?
Comanche County, it's free. In Oklahoma, is it free? Or is it $25 a year? I'm looking at Tina. I'm sorry.
I don't know, if you're looking at me and I'm like, I have no idea.
Is it $25 a year? It's 28. It went up a little bit. So we charge a rate for out of county because our service area is in county. And so if you're out of county, but if you work or go to school in Comanche County, it's also free. And then we do have some people that are out of state and they pay the $100+ a year. I don't remember the exact dollar amounts here, I apologize. But yes, we do have ways for people that want to use the library that are from out of state.
So when Randy Warren was asking about the socioeconomics on visitors, are there not people that just come into the library to sit somewhere quiet and not talk to you? Do they check in with you? Do they show you an ID? How does that work?
So that is a very fundamental thing. We do not card you at the door. We do have security half the time. We are asking for security the entire time we're at the library in next year's budget. But we don't ID you, we don't card you at the door. Anybody's welcome. And so we do track circulation, we do track library cards, but we do have plenty of people that come into the library that don't get library cards, and so we just track them based on the foot count and not on, they may sit and read and not ever officially check anything out.
Or even speak to a member of the staff?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Has the mall parking lot been fixed for no more flooding?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought it was a city property. The city didn't buy the mall?
The parking lot has been addressed to a certain extent. We are waiting on a full complete repair, which would require a rerouting of the drainage, but it has been fixed to the extent that it should prevent massive drainage in the future.
So is it a city property or not?
It belongs to the city. It's operated by the FISTA.
But the building belongs to the city and the parking lot belongs to the city?
Yes.
We're sure? Okay. What is the driving reason for thinking you need to relocate the mall?
I don't have.
I mean, not the mall, my bad, back up. What is the reason for thinking we need to relocate the library at all? Because none of us are going to be here in 50 years. Well, Donna Lynn, you might be here. Yeah, a lot of us won't be.
There's not been a decision to move the library anywhere. That's what we're trying to decide. Do we move it? Do we rebuild it? Do we put a second story on it? Do we chop it in half and put?
Because I believe one of the first points when we started this meeting was about a complete relocation, and then Kirsten addressed it, saying it had some changes along the way on what was focusing. So at some point, it seems like that was what the goal was.
I explained it earlier, but it was in a meeting, and Kristen came and said that we had to move the library to the
Right.
Vista and then move it back, to which I said, why don't we just leave it there? Simple question.
Okay. So it's not on the table anymore to relocate it to the mall?
No, that's
Okay.
not the plan.
Okay.
Would it happen? That would be up to the Vista.
Who would it be up to?
Well, I mean, the council could make it happen, but the Vista is in control of what happens in that building. They're the ones that have gotten all the money from grants to do a lot of the work. But the point being, we don't know what we need to do. We need to figure out, like I said, do we need to build a second story? Do we need to chop that building in half and condense it? We don't know. That's what the whole purpose is.
Okay.
Yes.
The move I think that she was relating to was just temporarily because the ceiling was gonna get fixed. That's the move you were talking about, right? Just temporarily. It was about the ceiling. That's why it was gonna be a temporary move to move some stuff. to
The ceiling of the
Vista.
library?
Yes,
Okay, I thought they just had a new roof put on.
the ceiling,
The
library.
library.
Oh, the
library
lighting,
ceiling.
lighting, not the roof.
Just a temporary move. Right.
Okay.
With the library approach the Vista, in order to be a good community partner, and we have a great relationship, like I've mentioned before, we committed to helping the library in that transition and allowing them to store their stuff inside the Vista.
I'd like to point out, too, that the Friends of the Library have already allocated money to pay for moving the stuff, because we know Kristen isn't going to haul it all over there in her car. We do not need 1.5 million like the museum, so that's, that rumor was out there, too. But no, we have allocated money to pay movers to help transport, because we know that's a lot for the city to try to do.
Again, it will be temporary? So will you be publicizing when this committee will be gathering again? Is there a chance we can put it at a time when more citizens can attend?
I think what we'll probably end up doing is setting it when the members of the committee can meet and where we could arrange it, because I can tell you from past experience that regardless of when we have it, somebody's not going to be able to be there. So we just have to go with when the committee can be there.
All right. I look forward to seeing the success of this committee and what's going to be happening. I won't be alive in 50 years, I'm sure, but maybe my grandchildren will enjoy it.
Bettina Davis. You all know my address. I'm not going to give it out. I just wanted to come up here. If y'all put the library in the Vista, I disagree with that because we can't even get public records. I would like to have public records of the library if it goes into Vista, and I'm not going to be able to get it because they gatekeep the records. Just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Warren,
Yes.
Nyworth, Williams,
Yes.
Uyghur,
Yes.
Councilman Warren,